Hey everyone, welcome back to Providence Dad. I wanted to do a video and start off one of our first videos here after our intro video and go into, so you want to buy a school bus, and what did we do to get our school bus? What is it that we did? How did we research it? How did we go about buying it? And there's a lot. School buses are a whole new world. So many different powertrains and options. So I just kind of wanted to give you a preview on, by no means am I an expert at this. I've only bought one school bus, but at least I can share with you what the research I did that led us to this school bus. So let's go. Okay, so I wanted to hop on the computer here and give you an overview or rundown of the process I went through, or we went through, to purchase a bus, and the research it went in. So you decide you want to buy a bus. Now what? Where do you go? Where do you search for one? And I found that there's a few sources, very much in the way you buy a car, right? You can buy one from a private seller. You can buy one from a dealer. You can buy one from an auction. Overall, auctions typically are less common than in the car world, but it sounds like, from what I've seen, doing research on YouTube, from what other people have done, auctions kind of felt like the way to go. And initially, when we were looking to buy, I really wasn't looking at an auction. I didn't want to go through the hassle of trying to get an auction, going out and seeing it. I was like, maybe it'd just be easier just to go through a dealer. At the end of the day, we ended up going through an auction, and I'll kind of go through that thought process for you. So when I started looking for buses, I just started, the first thing I did is I think I went to Craigslist just to see, local. We live in the San Antonio area. What around San Antonio is there in the way of school buses? So I literally just went here and typed in school bus, and this is the results I got. Wasn't very helpful. Obviously, it's just a bunch of apartments because it has the word school in it, and all of these ads talk about what school they're in. So that didn't work out for me. So I went on ahead and finally clicked down here on cars and trucks, and then I typed in school bus. And boom, there's a few options for us in the area. This one was probably my favorite ad. Pretty clever way to sell it. We never did go down and look at these buses. We thought about it, but just never had the time to. But that was an option. There's always been a few buses for sale here that are an option, that are within a decent price range. So Craigslist was one of them. Then I finally just went to Google and just started typing in school bus sales. So I just started looking at what came up in the results here through Google. I mean, the first thing I've looked at through most of these websites, a lot of these are dealers. A lot of them, you just got to kind of pay attention to them. So this one's, you can see they're selling $12,000 for this one. But you can see they're selling definitely tailored towards the school districts looking to get a newer bus, $59,000. So this is probably most likely not going to be where I'm going to find my bus. But then again, maybe it is. You have a $7,500 one here. This may be very well one worth looking at. Now, when I was looking, though, I wanted to make sure it was down in the southern states, somewhere where I don't have to worry about rust. For the most part, it's very cautious about anything that may be in a state where there may be salt on the roads and you can have a rusty bus. And I'll go into that a little bit more as we go through, and maybe just look and see what's out there right now on the market. This one actually doesn't seem bad, though. $7,500 for flat, and this is the type of bus we were looking for. I was looking for a flat nose bus with a rear engine diesel pusher bus. I wanted that because that would give us the most square footage that we could have on our school bus, because we have a family of 5 children right now, and we wanted to have as much room as we possibly could. So here's an option right here. It may not be bad. Central State Bus Sales. I don't know where it's located. That's something you'd have to do more research on. to see. And one thing I'll note, I mean, just using this one as an example, if we head back over here and look, the one thing I would start paying attention to on the pictures is I would look for rust if it was in a state maybe that had the possibility of rust. And I'm trying to see, this one might be good. They're in Kentucky. You got one in Illinois, so you'd have to see what location this one's at. But the main place I would look for rust in these pictures is right here in the stairwell. That's where I usually saw the rust in the pictures, and I can tell if it's going to be a rust issue or not. So anyways, there's one option there. Let's head back over to the results and just keep going down. This website here, nwbus.com, this is Northwest Bus Sale. This was probably going to be one of my most likely places to purchase. This company has a location in the Northwest, I think in the Seattle area most likely, and then also in Las Vegas. And you can see they sell more expensive items, but if you go here, it's already on school buses, and then let's just do price low to high and see what comes up. But they did have a pretty good deal on some of their buses, and if you scroll down here, doesn't look like they have as much inventory as they used to. They used to have stuff down in the $10,000 to $12,000 range, and maybe that would be more on their Las Vegas website. I thought they were combined, but let's look that one up. I happened to find that one before, and that was Las Vegas Bus Sales. So this is where I started leaning towards the dealership, right? Because it's something I know they have in stock. I'm not pressured like, oh, the auction's running out. It was just going to be an overall, hopefully, more of a less stressful sales situation. So I started looking at all of these dealers for school buses, and here they are. Some of the buses that we were looking at were right here around the $11,000 range. Now these are 2007 model year. I would question getting some of those. I think I looked at these recently, and they have the Caterpillar C7 diesel, Allison transmission. Overall, a good powertrain from what I've heard, but I know the Caterpillars are typically going to cost you more money in maintenance, which isn't as big of a deal for us. I wasn't too worried about that. I do a lot of some of the maintenance myself, but the thing I was a little concerned about, if you start going 2007, start going newer, the diesels start to have more emissions equipment on them, which can be more expensive to repair or replace down the road, more maintenance and things like that. So anyways, this was one of the other dealers and the thing I really liked about this dealer is they have pretty much walkarounds and videos of each of their buses. So it overall seemed reputable. Like I said, we ended up not purchasing a vehicle or a bus through them. Let's just go back to the Google search. I'll show you a few more places that I was looking all over the bus that had the most potential out of everything, and there's actually this one here, MidwestTransit.com. This one definitely had some potential. They have several locations around the country. The only thing that made me question going through them is it looks like this is where I would typically see some buses with some rust on them. You could definitely tell, they do sell buses pretty inexpensively, but this one's no ignition, no dash, gauge cluster. It's a tow only. That would be a considerable amount of more work. This bus would require a complete overhaul, so these aren't really good candidates for building a skoolie unless you're into doing some pretty extensive overhauls. Let me see if I can find. So over here too, I would also filter out seating capacity, and that would help me get the size bus. I just want the bus but I want to see the buses with the largest seating capacity. I would usually check out multiple. And this was a common bus that I would see. I was definitely very interested in this type of Thomas bus here. This bus has engine issues though, $6,000. At the time I was looking, I don't recall them having this many issues on a lot of these buses. At least they're honest and upfront with it. But I'm just curious. Let's go look at the pictures on this one. If this was maybe a potential bus you would want to buy and you're trying to check it. This one's located in Midwest Transit Weistown. I'm not familiar with that is. I get the feeling that might be in a place where there's salt on the roads. Most likely. And I just want to see if we can get through here and take a look at the pictures, and I can show you. Okay, so you see here, this is where I would really question the bus, because you can see, like I said, the stairwell is a good indicator that there's definitely going to be rust on the bus. So that's what I ended up not going through here, obviously, for that reason. Wanted to keep down to the southern states. so we wouldn't have to worry about rust. So I also, the one other place I would recommend checking that we did, I did see some good options, eBay. And let's just type in and see what they got right now. And sometimes it's a little hard to find because sometimes you just type in school bus and you get a toy school bus, not an actual school bus. But there are definitely a lot of options on eBay as well. It looks like you already have someone that has already done a conversion. Definitely considerably more money on that. But there was definitely a lot of options on here. I didn't find anything that was going to be what we were looking for, you know, a flat nose pusher diesel. Maybe if I did, it was one or two, like maybe this is one right here. Let's take a look at this one. This dealer actually looked like it may have had potential. I have seen this one before on eBay. A lot of school buses there. I don't think this school bus is quite as long as what we were looking for. Definitely looking for one closer to 40 feet long. This one's in Delaware, so that makes a question. I don't know. I'm not familiar with Delaware. Do they have salt on the roads? Do they not? Is this bus going to have rust? And then if you're planning on going up there, do you really want to spend the airplane ticket and then it just ends up being a big rust bucket and you got to fly back home? So I was looking around on YouTube and I just kept seeing all of the people that are doing school bus conversions. They kept saying they got theirs from an auction. I'm like, you know what, maybe I just need to look at this auction. And the average price I'd say, and it's just my personal experience on YouTube, is the average price I'd hear everyone say is they got their bus for about $3,000 on an auction. I was like, where do you buy these buses on auction? I need to find out where you do that at. So I just typed in bus auction. The first place that always pops up for me is school bus from Public Surplus. There are a few others. I think I checked out GovPlan. I checked about a lot of these places out. I don't remember. I think there's one more government surplus option. Oh, it's GovDeals. That's what it is. I looked at GovDeals. These were the main three, I think, that I started looking at for school buses. I don't know if I looked at this one too much. Looks like they definitely have some options. Well, and actually, no, I did look at this one. This one, you got stuff in in the United States, but it's also international. So you got Sweden and other countries there. So this wasn't really finding me a lot of what I wanted. It looks like there's a bus in Alabama. So you could get something here. Who knows? It obviously didn't work out for us. So I wouldn't put it. I would look everywhere. That's the one thing. One advice I'd give is just look everywhere for your bus. GovDeals definitely looked here. Didn't find what we were looking for. But what happened in our scenario is Public Surplus was probably my favorite one. I mean, maybe that's because where we bought our bus. I don't know. I happened to see at the time there was multiple. It was kind of like this. There was multiple in Arizona. And Arizona is where we used to live, so we still have family there. And it worked out really well. And at the time, there was probably 5 days left on the auctions. And I ended up seeing, instead of $4,000, there's about 5 days left, and they were going for $500. When you decide you want to build a bus and you start saving up for it, I'd recommend you just start searching all of these websites to figure out who has the bus you're looking for, who's most likely to have it, where is it going to be at. And then when you start saving up a few $1,000s, you may say, hey, there's a deal. You know what? I can afford to bid this much money on that bus. Ideally, you want to go look at the bus. So that I couldn't go look at the bus. Thankfully, we had family in the same city where we bought the bus in Arizona that was able to go look at it, and they just video chatted with us, and we were able to see the bus start up. But other than that, we pretty much bought it blind, and more on faith more than anything. But we actually saw a bus just like this one here, except ours is in 1998, and it was they had, let's see, a total of 8, 5 of them international and 3 Thomas buses, and they were all around $500, $500 to $1,000, and they had 5 days left. I decided to just jump on it. We only had at most $2,000 to spend, and at the end of the day, we ended up looking at the buses. They all ran well, and I ended up just picking one bus. One thing, like I said, a lot of the analysis on the pictures that I did is I would come in here and I analyze each bus and each picture just to see if there's anything noteworthy. Is there rust? Is there anything that I really need to pay attention to? As you can see, this one doesn't appear to have any rust. It's in Arizona. Rust is definitely rare there. And one other thing to look at, you know, a lot of the school districts, you're usually buying directly from the school district. So they're going to give you pretty much a good explanation here. They do say it runs, which is good. Looks like the alarm for the brakes is going off, so that'll be a little annoying. So just, at least they're giving you a little bit of information there. I would recommend calling the district directly. Sometimes there's a phone number on here that you can call. I called the guy that was essentially in charge of the maintenance and in charge of selling these buses and asked him as many questions as I could. And like one of the main questions I asked, I was like, how fast does it go on the freeway? Will it do 65 at least? And he said, yep, this one will do 65, no problem. Since he knew the buses much better than obviously I did. This auction might extend. So what'll happen is if you put it right, your bid right at the last minute, it extends it by like 5 minutes and gives other people one last chance to maybe outbid you. And when you put in your all in on here, it's not going to automatically bump up that price to whatever you put all in. It's always just going to outbid the person until they outbid you. It'll outbid them by like $5. And so that's what we did. We ended up purchasing a bus essentially remotely from a distance. Thankfully, we had family. Some people might have to travel. It worked out a little better for us to go see the bus and then hopefully bid on it. You have the chance of losing the bid or not hitting your budget. You know, when you have to do that, we were set up a little bit better in that way. So I hope this helps. I hope this gives you an idea of how to search for school buses online. Just go through and just start looking at them and then you start to get a feel for, okay, this kind of bus goes for this price. These buses go for this price. And you can start to see trends. And so that way, when it does come time to purchase, you know what we're looking for. We ended up pulling the trigger sooner on ours than we had ever planned to, and it just worked out that way. But I would definitely say take your time on it. I would highly recommend, if you can, get it checked out by a mechanic. If there's someone you know in the area, like I said, you may be traveling to an area you don't know. A lot of these school bus auctions, like the one I just showed you here in Arizona, visual inspections only. So you can only go and look at it, and that's it. You know, just keep those things in mind. You know, you may not be able to get the full inspection that you want on one of these buses, but if the price is right, maybe it's worth it. I mean, ours ended up having amazing tires on it. I mean, the tires alone were probably worth more than we paid for it. So there's good deals out there. I would say just one, be patient, but at the same time, if you see that deal and you feel good about it and you're confident in it, go for it and put that bid in. But definitely just look everywhere. Look at the dealers. Like I said, this is just one example, Las Vegas bus sales. Look at Craigslist, look at eBay, the other places, and then the auction places. I just type in school bus auction and look at every site that has one. This ended up being, for me, the most friendly one and easiest to navigate, and we literally just pulled up school buses instead of a bunch of other stuff. So hopefully what I went through on the computer with you is going to help you guys know what to look for, where to search, how to find a school bus. I wanted to give a little more background into how we came to find our school bus, and really more of how it fell in our lap in a way. I went through, found the auction. I think I mentioned in the when I was showing you on the computer, 8 school buses showed up in Mesa, Arizona at the school district there. They were all 5 days left in the auction. They were exactly what we're looking for. They were flat-nosed, rear-engine diesel pusher buses. 5 of them were international like this. 3 of them were Thomas. I think the Thomas buses had Caterpillar C7 diesels. Those are the ones I was initially going for. But I was okay with this engine too. It had an Allison transmission and the 7.3 liter international diesel, which is a well-known diesel engine in a lot of the Ford Power Strokes up till 2002, 2003, and they're known to go 1,000,000 miles. So I wasn't too. The only downside, they said, it might be a little more underpowered. Caterpillar C7, what I understand, has a good reputation as well. So I was going for the Thomas. Those went out real quick out of my price range. We weren't planning on a bus. We bought this bus 6 months earlier than planned. And when we bought it, we didn't have all the money together. We were planning on $6,000 to $10,000 for a bus. And we ended up having about $2,000 at the time. And I was like, you know, these are at $500. There's 5 days left. Let's just watch them. I kept watching them, and maybe it went up by a few $100s. And so finally, when the day came, it was come towards the end, I think they were still under $1,000. I started putting a few little bids in there, seeing what would happen, and I'd get outbid. And then at the very end, I picked the one with the lowest miles. Granted, I will say, as I mentioned before, we did have my brother-in-law went and looked at him for us. Thankfully, we had family in Arizona, and he video called me, and the guy at the school district was very accommodating, able to start up the buses and show us that they run and they work well. They had new batteries. This one actually had very new tires on it. So those are like worth probably $3,000 in themselves to get new tires on it. So the tread is extremely good on these. They just got out of service, just got done hauling kids. They provided me 30 pages of records, maintenance records from its life throughout the whole district. So this one here, when I got it, had 194,000 miles on it. Anyways, all in, I just at the last minute, right when the bid was about to expire, it was probably around the $1,300 range. I threw in all 2,000 at it. And now the way it works when you do bid, at least on publicsurplus.com, is it doesn't just automatically bring the bid up to $2,000 and you have to pay that. It just outbids the next highest bidder up to whatever that amount is. And then as they try and outbid you, it automatically rebids you like $5 or $10 more than that. And at the end of the day, we ended up, the auction got extended because I bid. It gave 5 more minutes for everyone to try and outbid me, give them a chance, and nobody did. It ended up around $1,600. And then with auction fees, it was $1,700. I went on ahead and used a card, was able to pay with a card right there. And then thankfully my dad was able to go pick up the bus for us when the time came. So I share that with you. It was a big blessing. It worked out for us that way. I don't know of anyone else who's gotten a bus in this shape. I've been looking around for buses to say, if we hadn't bought this one, what would it have been? And I haven't found one yet. So I definitely think this bus was meant to be for us. It drove out here. Like I said, it just got done hauling kids. Has had plenty of maintenance done to it. I mean, it has a new turbocharger within the last 50,000 miles, new fuel injectors, like a lot of expensive stuff has been done to it. It looks like it's been well maintained. It has one small oil leak on a valve cover, which I need to get fixed here at some point. But it drove from Arizona. It actually drove from Phoenix, Mesa area, all the way up to northern Arizona at 7,000 feet. The only downside is it does get a little hot in hot weather. It does not like the hot weather on the highway. If it's in the city, stop and go has no problem. So more to come on how I'm going to resolve that. We're doing a few things to hopefully get some better cooling in there. But this engine, the 7.3, isn't known. It's known to get a little hot on the highway. So we'll be looking into that a little bit more. But other than that, I mean, it climbed up to 7,000 feet in northern Arizona with no problem. And then we drove it all the way back to the San Antonio, Texas area with no issues, thankfully. So it was an amazing deal, a blessing to help us as we're working to get out of debt and to start this journey, be able to find and start when we were planning on maybe $6,000 to $10,000 and getting our school bus started for less than $2,000. Probably by the time we got done driving it out here, registering it and doing all those things, it probably cost us about $2,500. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully it helps you to find a good deal on a school bus. I do highly recommend, just do your research as much as possible on any bus you look at. It's very possible. You just don't want to spend a lot of money on a bus that you haven't known is going to at least work mostly mechanically and not have major issues. I highly recommend you check the oil. If you don't, make sure you don't have coolant in the oil or something like that, things that can't be seen from the outside. Highly recommend you check those things. Thankfully, the school district where we bought it from in Mesa, Arizona was very accommodating and giving us a lot of information about the bus to help us feel comfortable in making the purchase. So hopefully this helps. If it helps you out, please subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Be more than happy to see what we can do to help you out. Like I said, we're by no means a professional in buying a school bus, but I wanted to give you as much information as we can on what we did starting out in this journey. So thanks again for watching Providence Dead, and we'll see you all in the next video.